Hey, and welcome to the PEPP Story live show tonight. Very late tonight, I'm afraid, 11:30. It's been one of those really busy days, so I'm in a different room with the lighting's not as good as I'd like, but we'll get on. Anyway, tonight we're going to be talking about becoming an outstanding speaker. The whole program is focused around that, but I want to really focus in tonight on why you need to think about becoming an outstanding speaker. So there we are, becoming an outstanding speaker. Is that difficult? Actually, it's really not that difficult. I'm not going to say that it's really easy. I'm not going to say it's going to come without any work and without any effort. But I want to look at the challenges, because as a speaker, I get to listen to thousands of speeches. And I'm sure you have. Now, we've been talking through this week about purpose, experience, passion, performance, and story. Those are the essential elements. And yet, from what I've talked about this week already, if you can take those and start putting them into a speech, you'll start to make a huge difference. But I want to look around the background of what does it take to become an outstanding speaker, and really how you can start to work towards making yourself an outstanding speaker. And really, when I say outstanding, it's not very difficult. It's not very difficult because so few people try. All it means is that you stand out from the crowd. That's really the essence of becoming an outstanding speaker, that when I go to a conference, when I go to a meeting, when I sit at a meeting, I'm going to listen to, I don't know, 5, 10, 20 talks. Which ones am I going to remember? Which ones am I going to think, oh, wow, that was good? And if you're one of those, that makes you an outstanding speaker. You stood out from the crowd. You had a message which I could take away. So I wonder, how many speeches have you heard? If you regularly go to meetings, if you're regularly attending them, it doesn't take long for that to start building up into the hundreds, maybe even the thousands. I mean, for me, I think it's probably in the tens of thousands now, 40 years of attending meetings, sometimes 30, 40 speakers in a program over 2 or 3 days. And I've attended some recently, online ones where it was the same thing, lots and lots of people, lots and lots of speakers. Now, the whole point is, how many of those can I remember? How many of those were really outstanding? And think about it for the ones that you've listened to, the speeches that you've heard. How many of the speeches that you listened to would you consider to be outstanding? How many can you still remember? I've got a few speeches, and there really aren't that many, but I can pretty much still remember. I can still see the speech. I can see the speaker delivering it, and they were absolutely brilliant. Now, I'm not talking today about joining the ranks of the great professional speakers. That's an enormous amount of work, and I mean it. Even to get your topic to the level where you become an expert is probably 5 years of continuous work just to get there. And I'll be talking a little bit more about that later in the month. But for now, I really want to think about this. Why is it that so many speeches are, well, plain awful, absolutely boring? I mean, you're sitting there, within 5 minutes, you're thinking, oh, God, what time's coffee break? Do I really have to be here? And you're on your phone. And it's even worse when we're now dealing with Zoom calls, because it's so easy to just quietly sit back and do your emails. Nobody knows what else is going on. They can't see you looking at the screen, but they can't see whether it's actually the Zoom call you're looking at, or whether it's actually your emails or a game or anything else other than what's going on in the meeting. It is so easy on remote speaking to just fade out, just be in the background. And I've watched it happen time and time again. So what is it that we need to do to start trying to think about becoming a speaker? I talk to people who've delivered fairly boring, not telling them, that was really, really boring. But what I get from people is things like, and this is the things I see, it's a boring topic. And it's very difficult to make a boring topic alive. Well, actually, I don't agree. I've talked on some of the most boring topics and I can make them come alive. Lots of people can make them come alive. It's not that difficult. Bad slides. Oh my God. Well, we've all had it, haven't we? Death by PowerPoint. I'll talk about that again in a minute. Not enough time. And this is often the problem for so many people in jobs now, that you've got a speech to do, you've got a presentation to make. Oh my God, I haven't got time to prepare that. And the times that I have seen people trying to put together their presentation 10 minutes before they walk up on stage, well, it's destined to be an appalling, awful speech if they haven't put any time into it at all. I'm a professional speaker. I go up and I deliver a speech that I have delivered week after week after week for years. And I still put in probably a whole day before I go to a meeting, before I get ready for a presentation, to make sure that that speech is where I want it to be, that I'm right up to date, that every single slide is working, all the transitions are working. I make sure it's going to be a good speech because I actually put in the time. It's my business, I have to. So one thought we might have is sometimes I think, well, it would be probably better just to write the whole thing out and send it to everybody, save the whole meeting. And, when you think of a cost that would save. So why do we go to meetings? Why do we go to those Zoom calls? Why do we drive and travel hundreds of miles, thousands of miles sometimes, to attend a meeting, to listen to a half-hour talk? Well, what we're expecting when we go to those meetings is something different, some magic that isn't there on the page, that you're not going to get just from reading. It's like, why not just read the book? Why do you want to watch the movie? Well, yeah, the movie's quicker. That's one thing, the presentation there. But there's something about the when it's put together. When I watched Lord of the Rings put together by Peter Jackson, it brought to life something, even though I'd read Lord of the Rings a couple of times as a book, and that was a long, that's a week-long read, constantly reading to get through that. There's something comes alive in the performance, and the same comes with the speech. I've read somebody's talk, I've read their book, I've read what they're talking about, and then I go and listen to them, and there's some extra magic that comes in. And here's another challenge that comes from a lot of people when they're trying to put a speech together. 1,000 words is an average article. If you think of an average feature article, I'm a journalist as well. I've written lots of feature articles, and they were generally 800 to 1,000 words. That's what the publications were asking for. That's what people will read. Think about this. If somebody presented you with a 4,000 word, a 5,000 word article to read, are you going to read it? You're going to think, oh, God, that's going to take forever. It isn't actually. It takes about 7 minutes to speak 1,000 words. We read probably twice as fast as we speak, so it's going to take about maybe 4 minutes to read 1,000 words. That's an article that you're reading in a paper. That's a feature article. Take you about 4 minutes to read it. It's going to take you about 7 minutes to listen to it. Now, here's the challenge that we have. It's actually an awful lot easier, isn't it? If you've got to deliver a speech, and it's going to be a 30-minute speech, update on sales, motivate your staff, something that you know about within your job, because that's the kind of speeches that we tend to do, lots of informative speeches. Well, it's pretty easy just to stick a few notes together, grab a PowerPoint, put a PowerPoint slide, and this is what we do, the lazy way, the last minute way. We just put lots of notes down and create lots of bullet points for a PowerPoint presentation. Or even quicker, let's just borrow somebody else's that they've already delivered that you saw that's on the same topic. With anything like luck, you might have time just to have a quick look through them. Although, to be honest, an awful lot of the time when I've listened to those kind of speeches, it's pretty obvious the speaker didn't take much time to look through, because they get halfway through and they think, oh, I was on about a slide means we'll move on. And I've seen that sort of thing all the time. And they just read things off the slide because there is no preparation. In those cases, it would have been better to write it, but of course, it takes a long time. 1,000 words to write a 1,000-word article, that's a 2-3 hour job, maybe half a day to write and research a really good article. This is the problem. Speaking and writing takes time, but we think speaking is going to be very quick. So we can just stick a few notes together. We can stick a PowerPoint presentation together, borrow one, just get out there and just knock it off. Well, it's not going to get anywhere because people aren't going to remember it. They're probably forgotten everything you said before you even got to the end of the speech. By the time in the coffee break, probably won't even remember your name. Probably never even bothered to remember it in the first place. That's how rough it is. This is the reality of speaking. We can't absorb too much information. We can't remember lots of information. You won't remember most of my speech, even if I deliver a phenomenal speech. You're only going to remember a few bits. Now it's up to me to try and make sure that you remember the bits I want you to remember, the most important points. And that means one message. One message. I've talked about that earlier in the week. One single message. So most people will not invest in public speaking. It takes time, but people don't invest in it. Now, I've invested in loads. I have a lot of qualifications in public speaking. I've been on I've been on Dale Carnegie's course, Wilson Learning courses. I've done Lambda gold medal, a Lambda diploma, English Speaking Board's diploma. Huge numbers. Every time I get a chance, every day, I am doing something to learn a little bit more. I've been at 2 Zoom meetings today, talking to professional speakers, learning new tricks and tips about how to improve my speaking. And I'm 40 years into it, but it's still changing every single day. Something new is coming along. Today, I'm learning about eCam, a new tool to help improve video presentation. I would say that learning to speak in public was the single most important skill that I learned. I have a lot of qualifications, a master's degree. I've got degrees in insurance. I'm a chartered insurance practitioner, an Institute of Marketing, Institute of Public Relations. I have done an enormous amount of training and learning through my life. And yet the one thing I can see that all the time pushed my career forward, all the time helped me to become successful, was my skill and ability as a speaker. It really is the most important investment you can make in any way in your career. No amount of knowledge is going to help unless you can learn how to present that, learn how to inspire people with it. So that's pretty much what I'm going to talk about today. I was just trying to get the understanding. If you want to become an outstanding speaker, you have to make it a focus, make it a decision that that's what you're going to do. You're going to become outstanding. You're going to invest in becoming a good speaker. The simple goals to remember all the time. This is it. I want you to remember my message. If you set that as your only goal, remember my message. Design your speech. Learn how to present in such a way that the audience will go away and they will remember your message. Above everybody else's, yours is the message that they will remember. And most important way to achieve that is actually to have a message for them to remember. And I know that sounds really trite, but more often than not, people don't have a message. They have a barrage of information. That isn't the same. Bring it down. One clear, simple message. If you want to become an outstanding speaker, learn to communicate in your speech one single message. Just hone it all down. What's the one thing? If they don't remember anything else, what is the one thing? And then you come at that with different stories and all sorts of ways. So by repeating the message in multiple ways, in various different creative ways, you help the audience to go away with what they really need to remember, what's going to make a difference. And it's often not that big a message. As with this, become an outstanding speaker, learn to present a single message. Use all sorts of tools and stories and things to make it come alive, but get that one message across. Take action. They're not going to take action if they don't remember the message. So the most important thing all the time comes out. And of course, I want you to remember my name because I would like you to tell your friends about me and how great I was as a speaker. yeah, that's all part of helping to make sure that I get rebooked and I come back and people know who I am as a speaker. And, you will probably be able to think about names. You think, who are the great speakers that you've heard? You might have heard of Zig Ziglar. You might have heard of Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn. These are all big name speakers. Nigel Risner's a UK speaker that you might have heard about. There are lots and lots of good speakers around, but they make sure you remember their name. They make sure you remember their message. They make sure you take action. That's the things you'll find about what they do. And the same thing with a good TED Talk. It's a great story. It's an idea that needs sharing, an idea that needs spreading. That's the essence of TED Talks, is that somebody goes there with one idea to share. It's 12, 18-minute speech, one idea for you to take away and do something with. So there we go. That's how to become an outstanding speaker. Really, really focus on one clear message. Invest in your speaking skills. Become a great speaker. I should be here tomorrow. I keep trying for 5 and I'm not making it at the moment. It's really busy at the moment, but there we go. I shall try that. I've been talking to a few speakers today who've agreed that they'll come on the show. So I'm going to be having a few guests later on talking about what they've done with their speaking. If you need some speaker coaching, if you've got a TEDx talk coming along, or you've got a big conference coming along and you haven't really thought about what you're going to do with that, give me a call. Drop me an email. I'm happy to spend 30 minutes with you just as an introductory meeting, just to talk about how I might be able to help you, how I might be able to help make your speech come alive, make it memorable, make it actually make a difference, make you into an outstanding speaker. So don't forget that. And it's ricky@rickyarundel.com where you'll grab me. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this evening. Just a little bit of a canter through why it's important to become an outstanding speaker, use all those skills. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, and we'll get this forward. I'm going to look a little bit more at becoming that outstanding speaker, what it takes to make you there. But for now, I'll leave it there. Take care. Have a good night.